I'm speaking from my home here in Bentonville, and I am on the traditional lands of the Quapaw, Osage, and Caddo tribes. And although the landscape here has drastically changed, I want to acknowledge the thousands of years of stewardship of these tribes. Indigenous land acknowledgements are a way for all of us to recognize the enduring relationship that the indigenous tribes have had with the lands on which we now live. So our breakout session today is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion in Rotary. And I'm joined by two wonderful Rotarians, Dr. Todd Jenkins and Valerie Wafer. Both Todd and Valerie are on our newly formulated DEI Rotary International Task Force, and Valerie is our chair. During this past year, as a Rotarian, I've been very fortunate to be involved with a series of webinars that our colleagues with Rotary International have conducted and put on. And one of the items that I learned from these webinars was the acronym ATP. It means ask the person. And I learned that from Valerie's husband, Mark, actually fairly recently. And the whole point here is that it's important for us all to ask our colleagues and friends how they would like to be identified and not to make assumptions. So today I'd like to ask Valerie and Todd to please introduce yourselves to our audience and let them know, and let all of us know how you would like to be identified. And so I'll turn the floor now over to you, Valerie.
Thanks, Beth. It's great to be here with everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Wafer, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm a Rotary International Director on the board, and I'm honored, as Beth said, to serve as the chair of our Global DEI Task Force, along with my colleague, Dr. Todd Jenkins. I'm coming to you today from my home in Ontario, Canada. And I live near the shores of South Georgian Bay, which is part of Lake Huron, one of the 5 Great Lakes shared by Canada and the U.S. It's great to see you all here today. I want to thank you each for being with us for this really important conversation. Todd?
Thank you, Valerie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you all across the world. I'm Dr. Todd Jenkins, and I'm a proud Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is also joined in the same district as our colleague and our panelist, Beth. I identify with my pronouns as he, him, and his. I also would like to do a visual self-description. The visual self-description is another inclusive way to ensure that our individuals who are joining our technical platform today, who is visually impaired, could also be included with the experience of what you all see on camera today. So for my visual self-description, I identify as a Black male from the United States. Currently, I am in a hotel room because I am judging a pageant this week, a competition here in Arkansas, and I currently have on a lavender shirt with a brown bow tie with coffee beans. And I am so excited to be here and be a part of this conversation and be a part of all the great work that we're doing as Rotarians around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Todd and Valerie, for those wonderful introductions. And we'd like to begin our panel discussion today with a poll. We would like to hear from you about what is the biggest challenge that you face in this diversity, equity, and inclusion field. And please go ahead and make your selections, and then you need to push the submit button. And there's 4 options, and while you're polling, I'll go through them. One option is not knowing the right thing to say. A second option is having the knowledge to influence change. The third is to feel included within my organization. And fourth is understanding a terminology. And let's see how the poll is coming along here. It looks like it's stabilized, and at 54%, we have the highest level of having the knowledge to influence change, and then followed by understanding terminology. And let's go to the next slide. We took this same poll last September when we started the series of webinars, and at that time, it was very interesting. We had a parallel result. 69% of those polled said the biggest challenge was to have the knowledge to influence change. And so we hope that today, with the breakout session that we have, that you'll have gained some information that will be helpful to you in these areas. We want to go through our progress and how we're doing as an organization in the area of diversity, equity, inclusion. And then we're going to look at some best practices, terminology, and then look at how to approach this from a systematic point of view using frameworks. So that will be our objectives today. Next slide. And so let's begin with level setting on terminology. And Todd, as a leading practitioner in the area of diversity, equity, inclusion, would you walk us through what DEI stands for, this acronym?
Yes, thank you so much, Beth. As we see and as we continue to engage in this conversation around DEI, which for this conversation it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I understand, being a practitioner in this space, that we may all show up to these words very differently. So I would like to expound upon these terms for the sake of our conversation today and to set some foundational alignment. So let's start with the word diversity. What is diversity? Diversity is visible and invisible differences that make someone complete. Okay, so when you look at somebody visually, these are some of your physical characteristics that you can see on the outside, you know, such as my skin color, such as potentially my gender, my hair color, you know, etc. Those things are potentially visible diversity. Some examples of invisible diversity are the things you cannot see, such as your ideas, potentially your disabilities, your sexual orientation, your faith, etc. And when we talk about diversity, I will tell you that both of those things are very important, and it's very important to see how individuals would like to self-identify. Let's go to inclusion, because inclusion is so much fun. Inclusion is an action. Inclusion is an opportunity. Inclusion is a way that we can actually come together and respect all these visible and invisible differences to have a high-performing culture, to have a culture where everyone belongs. And that's exactly the outcome of diversity and inclusion. But the way we get there is interesting. It's about equity. Equity is really different than equality, and you can actually look at this diagram that you see before you. When we think about equity versus equality, equity is really able to meet individuals where they're at. Equity is removing the structural barriers to opportunity, and that is what we want to strive for when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I want to also make the statement that sometimes these words can mean very differently depending on where you are in the world. And so I say, when you have this conversation, ensure that you align with the culture, ensure that you align with the climate, and ensure that everyone in the conversation is aligned with the introductional language. So thank you so much, Beth, for inviting me to share that perspective.
Yeah, and our first question just came in, and it was about this definition of equity. So Todd, thank you for walking us all through that, and I hope that our conversation here is helping to answer some of the terminology questions that our guests have today. Let's now think about this, of why would this be important from a Rotarian point of view? And Valerie and Todd, what are your perspectives on why is Rotary tackling DEI, and why are we doing it today? Valerie, do you want to start?
Sure, thanks, Beth. You know what? We are better together. And as we know, the world is shrinking and our communities are becoming more diverse. And we need to celebrate the contributions of all people. Our uniqueness should be valued, and we should be able to contribute in an equitable manner. I'll just share an example with you. My husband and I operated a business, a chain of franchise restaurants in Toronto for over 20 years. And our team represented the community. We had over 50 countries of diverse perspectives, cultures, religions, disabilities, ethnicities, and sexual orientations. Our customers told us that they came to us, to our restaurants, came out of their way because we represented the community. They were able to walk through the door and identify, and they kept coming back. And this obviously was really good for business, and it should be good for Rotary business as well. Each of us bring a uniqueness that translates into alternate views, innovative ideas, connections, and skills that help us achieve everything that we do in Rotary together. And, why now? Diversity is one of our core values, and so is leadership. You don't have to be a club president, you don't have to be a district governor, a director. We each have the power to shape the standards and reinforce the desired behaviors, the equitable behaviors that we all deserve as we show up in our Rotary Club. So we are leaders, and the time is now.
That's great. Todd, what's your perspective on this?
Totally agree. Totally agree. We have the business. The case is here. I honestly don't understand why we're still questioning ourselves that do we have the opportunity? Yes, we have the opportunity. Why not Rotary? And that is the question that I like to pose back to the audience and our fellow Rotarians. Why not us? Look at our mission. Our mission is to provide service to others, promote integrity, and advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through our fellowship of business, professional, community leaders, and all humans around the world. That is the epitome of inclusion. We cannot do our mission without being inclusive, and inclusive for all. And so, yes, Rotary, it is the time yesterday. We don't have to wait till tomorrow to begin this action. We need it right now. And we have the business case. We have the moral case. It's more than the right thing to do. And we have the social case. The world is changing. Our community is changing. And if we want Rotary to sustain and transform and stay here for another 100 years plus, we need to be inclusive, because that is going to be the organizations that really be able to help transform a world and a society where everyone can also live and be their best self. And Rotary is that platform to do that. I really do.
And I want to pick up on your point about society and societal changes. And, I've been reflecting about this as well. And I think back to 1905 when our organization was founded. And what was going on then? Wow, I think that the world, at least in our country here in the U.S., looked a lot different than it does today. It was a time of a lot of discrimination. We had racial segregation going on. And if you think about the role of women in society, we didn't have the right to vote. We didn't have a lot of rights that we have today. And thank goodness times have changed, but you can see that our organization, as it was originally founded, reflected that period of time being white men, a segregated organization. And so it is time for us to definitely continue to move forward as an organization to reflect our society today and to move into this area and embrace inclusion. And history is history, and today is today, and it's time for us to move forward as an organization. And that's really how I think about that. Todd, I know that our senior leaders put in place a goal for 30% women in leadership and 30% membership. Tell us how we're doing in terms of our membership progress on that goal.
Yeah, so, as you all are aware of our commitment and our positioning to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, the board of directors has set a goal. They set a goal for us to achieve 30% of women membership. And I love it because it's not just Rotarians, but it's also Rotaractors, as well as a goal around leadership. And let me go ahead and be very clear. The reason why this goal was set, of course, we understand that gender is only one aspect of diversity in Rotary, but this was something that we can easily track. This is something that we have the data that we can go ahead and start to set a goal to help really push us and transform our communities and have representation of women across the world. So as you all see today, as far as Rotarians, we're hitting around a shy 24%. Okay, Rotaractors, half of the Rotaractors across the world are women. And so as you can see, just the comparison between the two is that we see that the the generation, the younger generation, is more diverse. And this is our future. We are the future as the younger generation, and we would like to transform and come into as Rotarians. But as you also see, which is an excellent stat, is that 85% of Rotary clubs around the world welcome women. Based on the history of the world, that is a really, really powerful and positive stat. But of course, we want to strive for 100%. And we want to meet that goal, if you will. And so as you all can see today, we are definitely on the track here, and we're definitely been able to look at this in a different light. But I do want to recognize these countries, as you can see across the world. These are the countries, and these are the regions who have at least 30% or more women as Rotary members. So I give you an opportunity to be able to look through this. And we do want to celebrate those individuals. And we also want to celebrate everyone who's doing this hard work. Because depending on where you live in the world, we understand that we have a lot of individuals that could be resistant to change. And that's why we're all here today, because we are the hope to continue to make that change. And so I'm so excited for us to continue to have this conversation and look at the data points, as well as we build out more capabilities in Rotary, we're going to be actually being able to measure other diversity, and we need your help. We need your help to continue to do the right thing and allow for us to look at this data and build these actions together.
Thank you, Todd. And I want to point out that there is a handout section where there's a little sheets of paper, and we have included in that the spreadsheet that shows where every country stands in terms of meeting this 30% goal of membership. And if your country's not listed on here, please, there's some more work to do. We're obviously missing the opportunity of more membership, because we're missing half of the population of the world, or half your population perhaps in your country. So this is an opportunity for us to continue working to get all 218 countries where Rotary has clubs on this list going forward. Valerie, how are we doing in terms of the leadership and at the global level in terms of policy and also meeting that goal of women in leadership of our organization?
Well, for sure, Beth. Thanks, Todd, so much for outlining where we are in our diversity as far as women representation in Rotary. And it is exciting to know that our future leaders in Rotary, our Rotaractors, are already at 54%. We're going to have some great leaders in the pipeline that are going to be representative of women in Rotary leadership. But we need to continue making progress with our leadership in Rotary. As you can see, women in Rotary leadership is heading in the right direction in the last 5 years. If you look at this chart. And we know that it's been 32 years since that epic Council on Legislation decision to allow women into Rotary, but we haven't necessarily seen the number of years translate into women in key leadership roles. But we know it all begins at the club level, right? We need to continue to build our leadership pipeline. We need to keep tapping women on the shoulder and saying, you'd be a great leader. I believe in you. This is how it happens, but we have to be intentional in our choices here. So women in Rotary leadership is hovering around 20 to 25% at the club, district, and zone level. And you may recall that 3 years ago, we didn't have a woman on the Rotary International Board. This year, 2019-2020, in 2019-2020, we had 2. This year, we have 6. And next year, we have 8 women on the board. And if you count and celebrate our President-elect Jennifer Jones as of July 1, that'll be 9 women represented on the board, and that's gender parity for the first time in the history of our organization, and that is really exciting. And it's really that role model and that representation that's necessary for other women who want to move into leadership roles. We do depend on our role models. We do depend on representation and that visual representation. So our goal is to concentrate on women in Rotary and leadership and to achieve that goal set by the RI board of 30% by 2023. So we need to celebrate our successes but we still need to be intentional about developing women in leadership roles. And again, it starts at the club level.
Thank you for that. And it's so exciting that we're going to reach gender parity. That's a real landmark for us. And I must say that, that all-male board 3 years ago is what got me fired up about diversity, equity, and inclusion in Rotary. I just couldn't believe that this organization that had given me so much, all of a sudden didn't have gender representation on its board, as well as other representation as well. So this is just really exciting news to see both our first woman president as well as the gender parity. That's a great landmark for us, and we just need to keep up the work. What else is going on at the leadership level, Valerie?
Well, as you know, the Rotary International Board also developed and released a DEI position statement in January of 2019. And, research tells us that organizations and workplaces that are more diverse and reflective of society are obviously more welcoming and more creative and more productive and more stable and have engaged participants. And if I go back to my restaurant example, I can tell you that the highest cost for any business is the turnover of your employees and your team. You need to advertise, you need to train, you need to bring them along, and this costs time and this costs money. By building an inclusive team where everyone is valued and given equitable chances to leadership and opportunities, our experience was that our turnover rate was 70% less than our colleagues. It was good for business, and our productivity grew, our team stayed, others wanted to be part of our team. And if we think about that and translate that into Rotary, retention is one of our key concerns in Rotary. So just think about it. If our members don't leave, our service opportunities go up, our engagement grows, and we become more attractive to those in the community that currently aren't present. As Todd said, it's a business case, and it's just obvious. So our DEI statement and the actions we are developing to support these words, because at this point, they're words on a paper. We need to cultivate that diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture so that all members will remain, will participate, and will feel valued. So some of the policies that we have to support this, while it's important, I think, always to have policy to support diversity, it doesn't necessarily change culture. As I mentioned you earlier, you have the power to be the leader in DEI, but policies are necessary to support expected behaviors, structures, and change. So first of all, we promote flexible club structures. Clubs and districts can first identify which groups are not represented in their existing clubs and figure out what experience Rotary can offer that will be to value of them. Existing clubs can adapt, or new clubs can be formed that are relevant to the leaders within these underrepresented audiences. And during the pandemic, we've embraced technology, new ways of meeting, meetings that don't necessarily have the high cost associated with them because we aren't meeting for a meal. And we're seeing cause-based clubs established. We're no longer restricted by 4 walls. We've adapted and embraced new flexible structures. The second thing we've done is we've eliminated the age limit for Rotaract clubs, ensuring that members aren't forced out of their clubs just due to their age. And we want Rotaractors to transition into Rotary clubs by choice, and what that looks like when the right time is for them, but perhaps again, what the new innovative model might look like that enhances their Rotary experience. So it's completely in their hands to choose what their Rotary experience will look like going forward. And finally, we implemented an adult harassment policy that's been in place to promote an inclusive environment. And this policy should help club members shift their thinking from what they feel is appropriate to say and do, while respecting what others think is appropriate and not crossing those boundaries. So these are some of the policies that support our diversity work.
Muchas gracias. Y ahora
Thank you.
que ha sido
And
líder de este
now that
grupo
you've
de
been
trabajo por los
leading
últimos
our
6 a
global
8
task
meses,
force
me
now
parece que
for just
sería
over
de
6 to
mucho
8
beneficio si
months,
nos
and
contaras un
Todd
poco
is
más de
also on
eso.
the task force. I think it'd
Sí,
be really
claro.
helpful to just tell
Nosotros
us a little
hemos
bit about that as
trabajado
well, please.
arduamente. La semana pasada incluso presentamos nuestras propuestas a la directiva y fueron aprobadas unánimemente. Gracias, Todd. Está bailando de felicidad. Nosotros hemos trabajado tanto, nos hemos reunido por lo menos cada 2 semanas. Y yo estoy sumamente orgullosa de este grupo. Tenemos representación regional, somos diversos y hay una buena representación mundial. Y por eso quiero aplaudir al equipo por el trabajo que hemos hecho. Vamos a estar trabajando en el mismo grupo en los próximos 2 años y todos están de acuerdo en seguir. Entonces, la directiva reconoce que DEI es un tema crítico que debe ser abordado para continuar ampliando nuestro alcance.
Enhance participant engagement and adapt and increase our impact.
Teníamos que saber cuál era el estatus de DEI en Rotary el día de hoy. Y con la ayuda de PricewaterhouseCoopers, que es nuestro consultor, decidimos que teníamos que escuchar a la membresía. Y son 3 estrategias que hemos diseñado. Queremos estudiar, escuchar y analizar. Primero tenemos que estudiar nuestra declaración de visión, de misión, viendo la estructura y los recursos de formación. También escuchar a través de una serie de grupos de discusión, entrevistamos a los líderes y el lanzamiento de una encuesta global para las oportunidades que teníamos. Cerramos este sondeo en marzo pasado y a través de PricewaterhouseCoopers también nosotros realizamos unos grupos focales para escuchar a la gente del mundo rotario completo. Nosotros recibimos muchas respuestas y nosotros tratamos de escuchar nuevamente todas las experiencias. Nosotros además realizamos entrevistas de líderes en Rotary. Y todo esto lo que significa es un punto de partida para entender dónde estamos hoy, cómo podemos apoyar a los rotarios en todas las regiones, porque sabemos que DEI es distinta en todas las áreas del mundo, incluso en una misma ciudad. Por lo tanto, es importante escuchar a los rotarios de a pie, cuál es la experiencia de ellos y qué es lo que falta, y proporcionar estos recursos para poder ayudarlos, a los clubes, a los distritos, en este sendero hacia una verdadera diversidad, equidad e inclusión. O sea que no hemos terminado de trabajar, ni con mucho, tenemos mucho por hacer. Entonces, veamos las herramientas que tenemos a nivel de club y distrito. Y para esto cedo el micrófono a Beth. Gracias nuevamente por ese resumen.
Thank you, and thank you again for that wonderful overview of the work that's going on at the global level to give us leadership in this area. Over the past year, I really want to call out to our Rotary International staff. They have started putting in place some excellent resources in this area, all dealing with some of the areas that on our opening survey you said that you wanted and needed some help with. A good place to go is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Learning Center, a learning topic in Rotary.org. You have to sign in to Rotary.org and then you can get into there. But we've listed on this slide some of the areas and topics and materials that you can have access to under that learning topic. And in the handouts is this PowerPoint, which has all of these slides in it so that you can refer back to this information. In addition, we are people of action. And what I have seen happening around the world are both formal and informal groups of Rotarians coming together on the many areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a group in the area of the disabled with a group called Fair to All Concerned, the Disability Advisors for Rotary. So if you're thinking about how do I improve accessibility for my club and inclusion in that regard, we have Rotarians that are experts and are happy to sit down with you. In Brazil, a group of young Rotaract and Rotarians have come together with
y
Wakanda
están profundizando en el
Rotaria,
racismo.
looking
Eso ha
at racism
impactado
in
nuestra
Brazil and
organización.
how that has
También
impacted our
tenemos la
organization in addressing
agrupación en contra
inequalities from
del
that point of
racismo
view.
en
We have
Rotary. También hay
Rotarians
un grupo
against
de
racism.
mujeres en Rotary que
And of
siguen
course, our
expandiéndose.
longstanding
Y
women in
luego
Rotary
también
organizations
tenemos
that just continue to
agrupaciones
expand and
basadas
blossom.
en grupos de
And
identidad.
we
Yo
have
soy
identity-based fellowships,
miembro de
action
una
groups,
agrupación.
and a
Ven aquí que
fellowship
tengo el
that I'm a
pin
member of
de la
and proud to be a
agrupación
member
y
of is
es
our LGBT fellowship. I'm wearing the pin today,
una
and this pin I think is
pro
the best pin in
LGBT.
Rotary. I love the heart
Ustedes
with the
entonces,
rainbow.
como se darán
And
cuenta,
so these are all
tienen
places that you can
donde
go
ir
to
para
find
recibir
support,
información,
resources, and
orientación.
information as
Quiero
well. And I
felicitar a
also
los
want to call
rotaractianos
out
porque
Rotaract
también han
and the Big
hecho
West
un
Rotaract, and they
gran
have done
trabajo que
some
incluso me ha
excellent
ayudado
work
a
in
mí.
this area and produced
Además,
resources that
nosotros
I personally have found very helpful.
hemos
We also, throughout the
visto
year, many, at
esta
this point in
pregunta.
time, I would
¿Cómo
guess
podemos
that
atraer
many,
más
a common
diversidad?
question that we've
Mujeres,
received is,
LGBTQ,
how do you
jóvenes
attract more
profesionales.
diverse
Sí, como
members,
unidad es,
such
no
as
sé,
women,
casi
LGBTQ, young
toda
professionals?
caucásica,
When my
casi toda
community
rural, casi
is
toda
maybe
pobre, casi
older,
toda
maybe
de
white,
tercera edad. Es
maybe
bastante homogénea. ¿Cómo
seems much
voy a
more
poder diversificar
homogeneous.
entonces
And
mi grupo?
there are some best practices that we
Nosotros
have
hemos
identified,
preparado seminarios web
particularly as
este año
we went through
pasado
the
que nos
webinars that
orientan
we
sobre el tema.
developed over the past
Son una
year.
gran
And I
fuente de información
suggest that
porque
you
podrían
might want to look at those
hacer, digamos,
webinars,
hacer una
because
encuesta,
those best
sondeen la
practices
comunidad.
include things like
Mira a tu
surveying your
comunidad desde una
community,
perspectiva
taking a
distinta.
fresh look
También
at your
tenemos grupos de
community.
sociedad civil,
Many
grupos
times
cívicos,
there are
de
associations or civic groups
sectores que no están
people that are
representados en
maybe
tu club
underrepresented in
rotario
your Rotary Club.
y de los
And
que
a
puedes
way to
aprender.
get
Nosotros
started that we learned
hemos hecho
from
esto a nivel mundial también en
Rotarians from
Rotary.
around the world
Uno,
as
por
we had these
ejemplo,
discussions is one
desarrollar
way is to
actividades
approach and have joint
conjuntas con
service
esos grupos que no
projects,
están
which helps build
representados.
relationships.
Otra cosa que puedes hacer es
Another
invitar a
way
gente de
to
distintos
find engagement is
grupos
to invite people from
demográficos
diverse backgrounds
para
as speakers
empezar
to
a
your club
atraer todos esos
to
grupos a tu
begin
club y
building
siempre ser modelo de
relationships,
inclusión.
and
En este
always
mes
think about
en Estados
demonstrating
Unidos es
inclusion. Here in
el
the
mes
US,
del
it's Pride
orgullo. El
Month.
mes del orgullo,
Make a
¿por qué
public
no hacer una
statement that
actividad
you
que
are
está
inclusive
relacionada
and
con este
supportive
mes
of
del
that
orgullo?
community.
Debes
It's
además
also important in our clubs that we create
asegurarte
a
de que el
culture of inclusion.
comportamiento nos
And there are
sea
times when there are
apropiado.
not inclusive behaviors going on. There may be
Porque a veces el
inappropriate things that
comportamiento de los
Rotarians are
rotarios es algo que
saying
puede hacer
that
sentir a
make
la
you
gente
or I feel
incómoda.
uncomfortable.
Nuestra
And it's
cultura
important that
debe
we
hacer
address
posible que todos nos
the
sintamos
club culture
cómodos en
to make
todas las
sure that we all
reuniones y
feel
actividades.
comfortable in
Además, es sumamente
attending those
importante
meetings.
tener
And
representación.
then
Somos
it's
una
very
organización de
important to have
voluntarios y
representation.
a mí no
We
me
are a
gustaba
volunteer
ver
organization. And I
un
know I sure
escenario
was
todo
unhappy when
lleno
I
de
didn't see
hombres
any women
cuando
on
presentaron
stage
a la
at the Rotary
directiva hace 3
International
años.
Convention 3 years ago in
Entonces,
my
todos
leadership.
somos iguales, todos
I wanted
queremos
to see
ver esa
representation.
representación,
And so
nos
as we
queremos
have
ver en
our
el
club
escenario.
public
Tenemos que
events,
pensar
as we have
entonces
our
a
district
quién
and zone
estamos
events, it's very important for us
representando,
to think about who is on
porque
the stage and
de
that we
esta
give
forma podemos
representation,
motivar a
because
los
that
otros.
then encourages and helps motivate
También debemos
engagement as
analizar esto
well.
desde un punto de vista
But it's
sistemático.
important for us to
Todd,
look at this from
¿por
I
qué
think, a very
no nos
systematic point
explicas
of
qué
view?
significa
And
esto?
so,
¿Cómo
Todd,
podemos
why don't you
mejorar?
take us through what frameworks look like and how that can
Gracias,
help
Beth.
us all as we go down this journey?
Yeah,
Un
thank
poco
you, Beth.
regresando a lo que
And
decía
this is
Valerie
really
y lo que
kind
hacemos en el
of
equipo de
going back
trabajo.
to what
Yo
Valerie has
les
talked
debo
about, what we're
decir
doing to
que
task
como
force, right?
profesional
I
en
would tell you,
esta
Ben, in this
área,
space as a practitioner, you may be
yo
able to
les
see
digo
that there's several
que deben
frameworks that you can
asegurar
implement out
que
there. So I will want
la
to first
estructura
say,
que
ensure
utilicen
that your framework,
funcione
works
en
for your culture
su
and your
comunidad.
region. And your
Tenemos que
stakeholders.
empezar con
But
el
the
centro,
beautiful
el
thing
meollo del
about this
asunto.
space
La
is really
pregunta,
starting in the middle.
¿cuáles
Starting
son
with the
nuestros
questions
valores? ¿Cómo
around
empezamos?
where are we
El
with our values
ecosistema
as
rotario no va a
Rotarians?
funcionar
Because
si nosotros no
going in
estamos
this
alineados
space,
con nuestros
the
valores. Y como
ecosystem
todos lo
cannot
sabemos, los
work if we're
rotarios
not
tenemos
all
como valor
aligned with our
fundamental
values.
la
And as we
diversidad.
all
Pero
understand,
la
as
diversidad no es
Rotarians, one of
solamente
our
la
core
respuesta.
values are
Esto
diversity.
no nos dice
But you know,
cómo vamos a
diversity
llegar
is
allí.
just not the answer.
Representación es
It's not the
importante,
answer
pero la
where we're trying to
representación
go, right?
entra
Representation is important,
y si no hay
but
inclusión,
representation will leave
desaparece.
as quickly
Tenemos
as it
entonces que
enters if
asegurarnos
we don't
de
have inclusion.
evaluar
And so
nuestro
we
club.
want to make sure that we really look at
El punto
how
de
do we
partida de
assess
nuestros
this
valores
as a club.
es
So starting with our
importante.
values is a great conversation
Es
to really
central.
align the focus. But
Entonces,
here's several other
¿cómo
ways
podemos
that you
evaluarnos?
need and you
Empecemos
should
con
and
la
you potentially
estructura,
should have
como
the
rotarios.
conversation around assessment. You know, let's start with
¿Cómo
our structure as
alineamos
Rotarians.
nuestras
Let's
reuniones?
talk about how we align
La
our
agenda de
meetings
nuestras
agenda.
reuniones.
What
¿Cómo
about how
funciona
does this
para
work for
los
new
de
members?
tercera
How does this
edad,
work for
para los
younger members,
jóvenes,
older
para
members,
los que tienen
different
otra
members, etc.?
diferencia?
So start with your
¿Cómo funciona
structures,
para todo el
start with your
mundo?
systems, and
Culturalmente,
as you all know, when
¿cuáles
it
son las
goes around the world,
sutilezas
it's different
del
cultural
idioma, por
styles, it's
ejemplo,
different
que debemos
cultural,
manejar bien? Para
nuances
asegurarnos
and
que haya
language. And so you
inclusividad,
really want to look into that as well and
nosotros
ensure
necesitamos una
that inclusivity
estrategia.
is there.
¿Cómo es que
And I
vamos
always
a
tell individuals is that we do need a
empezar?
strategy. We need a strategy of how we're going to
Tenemos
move
que
forward because it
fijar una
allows for
métrica,
us to
fijar
really set
estándares para
metrics
poder
and
saber que estamos
measurements to
progresando.
see that
Y
we're
nosotros
progressing.
estamos
And
todos
I
en
want
el
everyone to
mismo
understand that in this
viaje, en
space,
el
we're
mismo
all on a
sendero.
journey here. We're
Nosotros
all on a
debemos
journey to
entender de
inclusion,
que
and
dependiendo
we
de
are
dónde
on the
estés en el
journey of
mundo, la
maturity.
madurez es
And we
distinta.
understand that
Depende
depending
de
on where you at in the
quiénes
world,
somos.
maturity could look
Entonces
different
yo
in this space.
quiero
We depending on who
recordarles
you
que
are,
debemos
and the
tener
club could look very
paciencia,
differently.
que
So I want to
debemos
say and remind
mostrar
you all is to
compasión
have patience
con los demás.
and
Somos
also
seres
give grace
humanos,
and show
somos
compassion
falibles
to each
y
other
uno
because
de
we're
los
humans and we're all coming from
denominadores en
different lived
común
experiences. But one of the
es que
common
debemos
denominators is our shared
impactar a
values
nuestra
and our
comunidad. Entonces,
opportunity to
involucren a
impact and
todos,
transform our
que
communities. And
esta
so involve
estructura no
everyone in
signifique
this
una
framework.
conversación
Ensure that it's
unidireccional.
not a
No estamos
standalone
hablando de
conversation.
poner a un solo
Okay,
comité lidiando
diversity
con
and
esto.
inclusion should not
Son
be only
todos,
one
somos
committee's
todos que debemos
job
tener
for
un
the
impacto en la
entire club.
cultura de
It's
inclusión.
everybody's role to
Y
impact
asegúrense de
the
que lo
culture
que
of
pongan
inclusion.
en
But
marcha sea
ensure that it's
mensurable para
measurable, so
ayudar a
you
ver
can see
dónde
where
están
your
las
gaps are
brechas
at
y
in your
cómo podemos
community,
salvar
and
esas
you can
brechas
see
para
what
poder
you can do
progresar
to help close those
diariamente.
gaps or minimize them so we can all progress every
Entonces,
day.
tenemos tres palabras que
So
debemos
as we
recordar
continue to move forward,
siempre.
here's three great words
Y lo
to
hemos
remind
escuchado
you
claramente.
of where
Y
this
esto lo hemos hecho en
framework
el
should
equipo de
go.
trabajo.
And I think we heard it
Como miembro del
very
equipo de
clear that
trabajo,
we
fue
have
muy
done this with
importante
the
para
task
mí
force.
establecer y
As a
recomendar
task force
políticas y
member,
cambios culturales,
very important
etcétera.
before we started
Nosotros
to set up and
pasamos mucho
recommend
tiempo
policies and
escuchando.
cultural
Entonces, esas
changes,
son las
etc.
palabras.
We spent a
Escuchar,
great deal of
aprender,
time listening
liderar.
to each other first.
Nosotros somos un grupo
That's where we
mundial
started. You know, we are a global
y
group
entendemos
of this different
que venimos
backgrounds
de
who's very passionate about
diversos
Rotary. But
orígenes,
we
en
understand
diversas
that we came
regiones del
from different
mundo.
parts of the world.
Nosotros
And so what we
pausamos
did
y
was
nos
we
escuchamos.
stopped
Y
and we listened.
dijimos, ¿sabes
We
qué?
allowed
Este
the
es un espacio
space for
seguro.
it's okay if we don't
Nosotros
get it
tenemos que
right when we
ser
first say it.
generosos con
But
los
we allowed the
demás.
space to show
Cultivar
grace
la
to each
empatía.
other and,
Yo les
and try
diría
to build
que
empathy.
deben
And
crear
stories
ese mismo
cultivate
espacio en su
empathy.
club, en su
So I would
comunidad,
tell you,
donde
create
se
that
pueda
space for your
compartir sus
community.
historias de
Create
inclusión
that space
para
for
que
your
nos podamos
club to
entender,
share
para que
each other
podamos
personal stories of
aprender.
inclusion.
Esa es la
And so we
segunda
can
palabra,
all understand
aprender.
and then learn from those
Yo honestamente
stories.
creo en
Learn where
esto.
we at.
Nosotros
Talk about where
somos
we wish
los
to go.
líderes en
You
nuestras
know, and I
comunidades.
honestly
Nosotros como
believe
rotarios
this.
damos
We are
esperanza.
our leaders in our
Nosotros
community.
hemos hecho
Rotarians, we
una
give
labor
that hope.
tremenda
We
en
give that
nuestras
hope. We have done
comunidades y
tremendous
creo
great
que
things in
nos
our local
queda
communities.
mucho
And
por
I really
hacer
do believe that we
porque
can
nuestra
do tremendous
comunidad
space in
depende de
this as
nosotros.
leaders. And our
Si
community
somos
is
los
really,
líderes,
really dependent
podemos
on
ser no
us. And
solamente
so
líderes
as we continue
rotarios,
to
sino
lead,
líderes
we don't have to lead
comunitarios.
as
Y con
Rotarians, but
nosotros
we
traer a
lead as
otros para ser
community
también
members
líderes.
and bring others
Tengan metas
along.
a
And
corto
so
y
I would
largo
tell you
plazo.
all, make
Porque
sure you
una
develop
vez
long and short-term goals.
salgas
So
del club
once
para
you
que
leave
no
the
se vaya
club
toda la
or
cultura
once
contigo.
you
Yo sé porque
transition,
ustedes,
not all
todos
the
los que
efforts
estamos
of inclusion will
aquí,
leave with
sienten
you.
pasión por la
I
inclusión
know
y por
because
eso están
everyone on
aquí
this call,
escuchando
you
esta
all are
sesión. Pero
passionate about
asegúrense
inclusion.
de
And I
que
know that's why
empoderen
you're
a
here.
otros
But
para que
make
ellos
sure
también puedan
you
tomar
are
acción.
modeling and empowering
Nosotros vamos a
others
tomar
to be a
acción.
part of you so you can
Y
take
para
action.
resumir
And
lo que
so as
hablamos
we
hoy,
move
como somos
forward
gente de
with
acción,
taking
lo primero que
action, and as
deberíamos
we kind want to recap
es
what we talked about today because we
evalúa
are
tu
people
club.
of action. The first thing I would say,
no solamente
go
el
back and take
club,
a fresh look at
sino
your
a la
club
comunidad.
and community
Nosotros
towards
también
inclusion.
tenemos sesgos.
You know, as
Todos tenemos
inclusion
un
leaders,
sesgo u
we
otro
have
sesgo.
biases as
Tenemos que
well.
asegurarnos de
We
que
all are
todos
biased. And so
trabajemos
we want to
juntos
make
para
sure that
tener
we
una
bring others
perspectiva
in
distinta.
and ensure
¿Cómo se
that we're all
sienten
having a
todos?
fresh look. Ask
Luego,
people their perspectives.
educación.
Ask them how they
Tenemos que
how do they feel.
comprometernos con
Okay.
una
The next thing I would say is
educación
education is a
de por
lifelong
vida.
commitment. We are all
Nosotros
evolving as a
tenemos
society,
terminología
and
que
so
no
is the
teníamos
space
hace
around
20
diversity,
años
equity, and inclusion.
o
Now we
5
have different
años.
terminology that we didn't have
Todos
20 years ago.
tenemos que
Some 5
seguir
years ago.
desarrollándonos,
And understanding that
superándonos,
we
pero
all
con un plan, mis
understand that we
amigos,
need
con
to
un
continue
plan.
to
No
develop in
podemos
this
seguir
space.
hablando
But we need a
diariamente.
plan, my
Tenemos que
friends. We
no
need a
solamente
plan. We
elaborar
can't
un
just
plan,
keep
sino
talking about it
implementar
every
ese
day.
plan
We
y
need the plan, and we
tener
need the plan of not
responsabilidad
only just
sobre
learning,
este plan.
impact, but most important, accountability,
Metas
because
a
we can
corto
surely
y largo
measure
plazo.
our
Entonces,
progress.
tenemos
Okay,
que
so I want you all to
estar
understand
orientados
that
hacia la
as we go
acción,
forward, we want
compartir
to
con
ensure that
otros
we're action oriented, and you want to go
y
share what you learn with
educar a
others,
otros,
even
porque
if they
juntos
don't
es que vamos a
care.
poder
It's
realizar
okay. At
estos
least you shared
cambios.
it. But bring
Bueno, yo
others
creo
along
que
with you
ahora
because
podemos
we are
pasar a
better
la sesión de
together.
preguntas y respuestas. Valerie, creo que tú estás
So I
encargada
think we're
de
now
esto.
ready to have some Q&A from the audience. And Valerie, I think you're going to be guiding us
Sí,
through
muchísimas
what we have
gracias,
coming in
Beth. Y
from
gracias, Todd,
our
no
Rotarians
solamente
who
por
have joined us
realzar el
today.
trabajo que ha hecho
Sure, thanks, Beth.
el
And
grupo de
thanks,
trabajo,
Todd, for
sino que es
not only
realmente lo que
highlighting the
también
work
deben
that
hacer
the
los
task force
clubes
did,
desde el
but how it
principio.
is in line
Aquí
with
tenemos
really
una
what our
pregunta.
clubs
Si
need to do
nosotros
right from the beginning.
vamos a
So
ser
here's
diversos,
one of our first questions.
tenemos
If
entonces
we are
que
to be
también cambiar
diverse,
la
we
designación
need to remove
profesional.
the
Perdón,
business
entendí mal la pregunta.
professional
Nosotros,
designation in
para
order to
ser
become
diversos, tenemos
do we,
también
sorry,
que
if we
quitar
are to be diverse, we need to remove the
ese
need to be
requisito
business
de
professional in order to become a
ser
Rotary member. So what do you think?
profesional
What do you think about that? What do you think about our
y
classification? What do you think about
empresario.
business professional?
¿Qué les
Inviting business
parece de
professionals?
quitar
Should
lo
we
que
not
son
be
las
more
clasificaciones?
inclusive in our community?
Bueno, yo
and
tuve
who
una
we're reaching
experiencia
out to?
personal con esto en mi
Beth, what do you
club.
think of that?
I'll take that one
Yo
because I had a personal
invité
experience in my
a una
club
mujer
with that
de
situation. I
muchos
actually
estudios
recruited a
con gran
very
trayectoria y en
capable,
ese momento
well-educated
pasaba
woman
que
who
estaba en
at
su
that
casa,
point in
que no
her
estaba
life was
trabajando en ese
staying at
momento
home
fuera de la casa
because
porque
her
el marido
husband had an
tenía
extra busy
un
job
trabajo muy complicado
and
en
they
ese
had a
momento y
son that
ella
they really wanted to be
aceptó quedarse en
successful.
casa
So they
para
had
poder
made a commitment
facilitar
that she would be a
la,
stay-at-home mom.
el
I
funcionamiento
invited
del
her
hogar
to
en
my
ese
Rotary
momento.
Club,
Yo la
and
invité
because she
a mi
didn't have
club
a quote
y la hicieron sentir muy mal porque
traditional
era una ama de casa.
vocation,
Entonces
she felt
yo me
very
sentí muy triste.
uncomfortable. And I
La
was just so
excluyó el
sad
club y
because
perdimos a alguien
the
que estaba
attitudes in my club
interesada en la
led to her
organización
exclusion. And we lost someone who really was
y
interested
que pudo haber
in our
contribuido muchísimo.
organization and who
Yo
could have
también fui parte del
contributed very
comité
much to
de
that.
servicio
I also
profesional
served
el
on the
último año en
Rotary
que existía
International
este comité y
Vocational Service
nosotros
Committee the
hablamos
last year
de
that
la
that
terminología
committee
que
was
estábamos
still
usando.
in
Nos
existence.
dimos cuenta
And we looked
que la
at our
terminología
terminology
nuestra
very
excluía
carefully
a
at that
las
point in
mujeres como
time.
mi
And we
amiga
realized
por la
that our
forma en que
terminology
nosotros
was
estábamos
excluding
definiendo ese
women like
estatus en
my
el que ella se
friend
encontraba.
because of
Y
the way
era
we were
necesario que
characterizing
modernizáramos nuestra
that. And it
terminología
was very much
para
important for
poder
us to modernize
hacer
that
espacio para
terminology
personas
and
que están haciendo
so that
cosas
we can
diversas en
be
sus
more
vidas
open to
y que se puedan
people from
sentir
all walks of
cómodos
life doing
en
all
nuestros
different
clubes.
things in their lives
Todd,
and that
¿quería
they feel
agregar algo?
comfortable coming to our
Y yo
club.
estoy totalmente de acuerdo. Yo creo que
Great.
muchas
Todd, do you want to add
veces
anything to
cuando
that?
nosotros
I totally
categorizamos
agree.
a la
You
gente,
know,
etiquetamos a la
I
gente,
believe that so
nosotros
many
con eso
times
nada más
we
perdemos muchas
go for it
comunidades
with
que quieren estar
labels
involucradas
and
en
our
Rotary.
membership description, we
Entonces,
lose a lot of
yo
communities
sé
that
que
just really want to be
nosotros
involved with
tenemos
Rotary.
distintas
And so
culturas y
I would
venimos de
just, you know,
distintos
I know
países y
everyone is in
regiones,
different
pero
levels
por
of
eso es que me
maturity based on their
encanta donde
culture and their
estamos
country or
hoy, es
region.
porque
But
podemos ser
I would say, you know,
flexibles.
that's why I
Está
love
bien que
that
si
where we're at today,
tú
where we're
no
going, is that we
te ves como
remain
si fueras Paul
flexible.
Harris,
It's
está
okay.
bien, como
It's
quiera,
okay
vas
that
a
if you
ser un buen
don't
rotario, no
look
tienes que
like Paul
parecerte a
Harris. It's
Paul
okay if
Harris.
you don't look like
Y
Paul Harris today.
no se trata
You still will be
realmente
a great
de tu
Rotarian. And honestly,
Estamos
that's where
hablando
we're
de
at,
tus
because it's
valores,
not
de dar
really
de sí
about
antes de pensar
what
en
you look
sí.
and how you look,
Perdemos a
but it's
mucha
about your
gente
heart.
de la
It's about the
comunidad
model of
porque
service
no
above
cumple
self.
con ese
And we lose a
perfil
lot of
que
individuals in our
nosotros
community
hemos estado
because they don't
buscando. Muchos
fit
de los
the business
socios
leaders,
que he
who's the biggest profiles, right?
conocido yo
And, some of the greatest members
Estados
that I
Unidos
met
que
in the
realmente
U.S. have been
para
educators
mí
and
son
teachers,
grandes líderes, son
and they have been doing
profesores,
unique things to be
maestros,
flexible in e-clubs. And they
incluso
are still doing the service. Some of the
asistentes
greatest individuals I met have been
administrativos,
administrative
secretarias.
assistants or
¿Por qué? Porque
secretaries,
se han podido
support
comunicar
staff,
con gente
frontline
en formas en que
individuals,
nosotros no hemos
because
podido
they were
antes.
able to
Entonces, ¿por
connect
qué
with
no
communities
ver
that
el
we haven't
corazón
connected
de la
before. So I
persona?
would say
¿Dónde es que pueden agregar
be
valor?
flexible in your membership,
Eso yo
and
creo que
really
nos
look at
ayudaría
individuals'
muchísimo.
heart or where they can add value, as well
Buenísimas
as how Rotary can add
respuestas.
value
Veo
to them. And I think that would
preguntas
help
en
us
el
all out.
chat
Great answers.
que me acuerdan lo
You
de
know,
mi
there's a few
restaurante.
questions in the
Cuando mis
chat box that I
clientes
just want to
pasaban
relate
por las
back to my,
puertas de mi
my
restaurante,
restaurant
sentían que el
example.
restaurante
You
era
know,
parte
when
de la
our
comunidad.
customers walked through the door and they
Pero,
identified,
¿cómo
they felt like they were
atraer
part of
a
the community. And
los
there's a
que
number,
no
there's
se ven
always that question,
representados? Si
how
una
do we
persona entra
attract
a un
those that
club
aren't
rotario y ve que
represented
no
in
hay
our
nadie
Rotary
como
clubs right now?
ellos,
When they walk through
¿qué
the door
hacemos?
and there's no visual
¿Cuáles son las
representation,
estrategias que
first off,
podemos usar
of the communities that they
para
belong to
motivar a
and represent?
que los que no están
What are some of the
representados en nuestros
strategies we can
clubes
use
se sientan
to
bienvenidos?
encourage those who are not represented in
Bueno,
our
esa
clubs
es
to
una
join
buenísima
and
pregunta.
invite them and make them feel welcome?
Y me la hacen a cada rato esa pregunta,
Yeah, I
cada
can
vez
start
que
with
tenemos
this. I
ese
think
tipo de
that's a really great question
conversaciones.
that I
Yo
often
les
get
diría
across
que
the world every time we
cuando
have
pensamos
these
en
conversations.
reclutar
And I would
personas
tell you that
que
because
son
one of
distintas
the
de las
biggest
que tenemos
questions
en
is
los
how do
clubes
we
ahora mismo,
recruit
¿cómo podemos conectar
individuals
con
that are
ellos? Yo les diría a
diverse,
mis
that
amigos que antes de
that's not in
invitar
our
a la gente a sus
club?
clubes,
How do we connect with
yo
them?
creo que
And
hay
I
que
would tell you, my friends, before
establecer
you
una
seek to recruit,
relación con
I will encourage you
ellos.
to
Yo
seek
les
to
invito a
relate.
que
And
primero
that means I
desarrollen
ask that you go out and build relationships
esta
with
actividad, hagan
communities that are
proyectos de
diverse,
servicio,
that are
sean
different than you.
voluntarios,
Get your club
porque
to go on a
ustedes
journey of
pueden llegarlos a
volunteerism, service
conocer
projects,
de otra
because you can
forma.
go build
Y
intentional
entonces ya
relationships. And
puedes
therefore, now they get to know you, you
hacer
get
que
to
una
know them,
persona
and
no
now it's more
venga
of you
sin
can
saber
relate, and
quién es a
instead
la
of
reunión
allowing
de
someone to
un
show
club
up for the
rotario por
first
primera vez, que tú
time,
no sabes quiénes son ellos
and
ni ellos
you don't
tú.
know who they are, you don't know their
Nosotros
expectations, they don't
decimos
know who you
siempre en la
are, and so
investigación
they
y la
only can see
representación no
your
importa.
brand.
Si tú
And
entras en un
sometimes,
salón y no ves a
we see in
nadie que
research
se
that
parece a ti,
representation
eso es algo
matters.
humano.
When someone
Entonces,
walks in the room,
te
and
parece
you
que
don't
no
really,
vas a poder
it's
conectar
a
con nadie allí.
human
O sea
thing.
que
You don't see
toma más
anybody you can
tiempo para
connect
la
with, and so
persona
it takes a longer time
para
for
establecer
someone
esa
from a
relación en
diverse
el club.
community
Entonces,
to
cuando
find
hablamos de
that
equidad,
connection
¿qué puedes
if
hacer
they didn't
para
have that
eliminar
relationship
esa
with someone in
barrera?
the club.
Bueno,
And
tienes
so
que empezar
we talk about
a
equity. What can you do
establecer
to
esa
remove
relación,
that
no para
barrier?
reclutar
And
gente,
what you
sino
can do
porque
is
es lo
start building
correcto para poder
relationships,
impactar
not
correctamente a la
because you need to
comunidad.
recruit, but because
Entonces,
it's more than the
no se
right thing
trata
to do.
solamente de
It's allowing you
invitar
to
a
impact the
alguien, se
community.
trata de
The next thing I would
cambiar
say
tu
is
cultura.
that it's larger
Porque
than
cómo
recruitment.
es
It's really
que
about
se
your culture,
sienten las
right?
personas.
So
¿Cuál es la
yes, you can bring a
impresión
new
del club
member in, but
rotario?
how
¿Me entiendes?
do you
O
bring a
sea, me
potential? How do
encantan
they
los clubes
feel?
rotarios en todo
What
el
is their
mundo, pero
first
muchas
impression of the
veces
Rotary Club?
uno
It's so much. I love Rotary clubs
tiene que
across the
aprender a
world,
hacer
but
tantas
it's so
cosas, que
many
si la
times we come
campana,
in,
que
you
si
gotta
esto, que si
hit
lo
the
otro,
bell,
y
you
uno te
gotta read
dice, y
this,
uno
and
dice,
you're a new
pero,
person. You're like,
¿qué es
wow,
esto?
what is this
Entonces hay
going
que
on?
pensar un
And
poco
you don't feel
de esto.
included.
¿Por qué no
And so I would just
aprovechar
tell you, my
esta nueva
friends, is really
flexibilidad
think
que
about
tenemos en
that.
los clubes
Really leverage
para
this flexibility
poder
for your
conservar a
benefit,
tus
for
socios
relating to
también, no
others that
solamente
are
para
different,
atraer
recruitment, but
nuevos
most
socios?
importantly,
Esto es sumamente
retention of
importante.
members
Y lo último
already
que
in
quería
your club
decir
too.
era
So that's
de
very
lo que
important
hemos
to
visto, y es
as
que
you
cuando
continue to have this conversation. I would say,
invitas
I'm sorry, last
a
point I want to
socios
make is
potenciales,
about what we have seen is that when
nosotros
you do
lo que
recruitment,
hacemos es
we
reclutar
call this thing,
entre
we call it
el
cohort
mismo
model
grupo.
in research.
O sea,
And cohort model is basically
más
group
bien reclutar
recruitment. And it's a
un
great
grupo
tactic
completo,
that if
tres
when you bring in new
juntos del mismo
members,
grupo, para
bring new members in
sentirse que
based in a
tienen
group,
esa
like 3
conexión,
new members
sin
together. So they can feel a sense of
sentirse
connection, that they
extraño.
don't
Esa
have
es
to
una
work up to
táctica
get to know, so many other members. But that's
Si
another
están
great
interesados
tactic
en más, yo
that
les
is
puedo
very
mandar a ustedes los
helpful with diverse
artículos
members or individuals. So
que
that's something.
explican
If you're
esto.
interested, reach out to me.
Bueno,
I
yo
can send you the
solamente quería
article.
agregar un poco a lo que dijo
And if I
Todd.
can just
I
jump,
agree with. Oh, go ahead.
sorry, Beth.
Primero que nada, hay que ver cuál es nuestra cultura. Y quiero compartir una historia que me pasó a mí. Yo hablé en un club virtualmente y decidimos seguir la conversación después de que terminó, porque había muchas buenas preguntas sobre DEI y a mí lo que me conmovió fue cuando vi que los socios estaban hablando y era un socio negro y me dijo de importancia de las conversaciones en el club porque él fue socio de ese club por 15 años con sus amigos y familia rotaria y él este día nos dijo en 15 años él nunca se sintió realmente cómodo como persona afroamericana, nunca pensó, nunca pudo como celebrarse a sí mismo completamente su historia como afroamericano en este país y celebrar todo lo que de otra forma habría celebrado si se sintiera cómodo. Entonces esto es importante porque Todd habló de... Se me fue la palabra. Habló de las cualidades visuales visibles e invisibles. Muchas veces no conocemos esas cualidades invisibles y por eso es que estas conversaciones son tan importantes. Sí, muy de acuerdo. Ay, no sabía si querías agregar algo. No quería agregar algo, pero sí quería enfocar esa importancia de traer a la gente en grupo, sobre todo para los jóvenes. Por ejemplo, mi hija se afilió a un club. Ella no estaba interesada en un principio, pero yo la hice afiliarse con su amiga, su mejor amiga, y ahora, así con su buena amiga, sí están disfrutando de su membresía en el club. Entonces eso funciona con todos los tipos de diversidad.
So
es una
cohorts
buena
can help
herramienta.
with all types of diversity, and I think that it's a great technique and a tool that we can use.
So that's amazing and a great example of how even when women were joining Rotary, right? I mean,
a
being
todas
the
las
only woman
mujeres
to walk through the
que
door
llegaron
and be in a
antes que
Rotary club,
nosotras
I
y
take my
que
hat off to all
lidiaron
the
con
women before us
este
who have
tema
got
de la
us where
falta
we
de
are today.
diversidad de
I think we
género
have
en
time
nuestros
for
clubes.
one more question, and the question
Ahora
is
hay
around
sobre el límite de edad de los rotaractianos. Y que la pregunta es que como ya no hay límite de edad, si esto quiere decir que se van a quedar rotaractianos para siempre y no van a entrar a Rotary. Bueno, yo quiero contestar esta pregunta. A mí me encanta el hecho de que quitamos este límite de edad. Cuando hablamos con los rotaractianos en el mundo, muchas veces no los reciben en un club Rotary, pero eso es culpa de nosotros. Si nosotros queremos poder captar a los rotaractianos del mundo, solamente tenemos el 4% de los rotaractianos que pasan a afiliarse a Rotary. Entonces nosotros somos los que tenemos que mirar al espejo, mirar nuestra cultura y ver qué es lo que le pasa al club mío que el rotaractiano o la rotaractiana no quiere hacer esa transición. A mí me parece que es fantástico que puedan seguir. Porque de esta forma se sentirán bienvenidos, se sentirán incluidos. Yo creo que de eso se trata la flexibilidad que Rotary está implementando en todo tipo. Por ejemplo, fíjate a los grupos de acción. Si eres un rotario o una rotaria que tiene pasión por algo, para mí son la paz y la protección del medio ambiente. Puedes unirte a un grupo de acción para estar en un entorno donde el servicio es focalizado hacia la causa que te importa. De esta forma, por ejemplo, yo he podido tener un impacto en el mundo, en lo que me interesa. Entonces tenemos que mirar a Rotary desde el mismo prisma, que es una forma distinta de involucrarse a Rotary, pero también tenemos que ver nuestras estructuras. Por ejemplo, en mi distrito, yo no veo ningún rotaractiano que haya asumido una función de liderazgo. Entonces, ahora los clubes Rotaract tienen el mismo nivel que los clubes rotarios. ¿Qué nos está pasando? Estamos perdiendo la oportunidad. A los rotaractianos se les está excluyendo. Y si nosotros queremos combatir esta población envejeciente que tenemos en Rotary, porque sí tenemos este problema, que somos una organización envejeciente, entonces tenemos que cambiar las estructuras de liderazgo en todo momento, en todo lugar, en todos aspectos.
at all
Hablamos
levels,
de problemas
all the
estructurales en
time.
Rotary y yo quería resaltar
And so
eso, que
there
eso es
was a
algo que
question
podemos
about structural issues
tratar
in
de
Rotary.
combatir a nivel de
And I
distrito.
want to highlight that
Las
it's
mujeres en
something that we can
Rotary, por
start
ejemplo,
tackling at our district
las
level.
que se afiliaron hace 30
Because when you
años,
think
eran
about
lo
women
mejor de
in
lo mejor,
Rotary,
porque claro,
those women who
los
joined
clubes
Rotary
rotarios
30
querían que
some years
funcionara.
ago, they were the
Pero
cream
¿por
of the
qué
crop.
es que nos toma
Because of
más
course
de
the Rotary
30
clubs wanted
años
this
para
to be
esas mujeres
successful?
que ya estaban
But
más que
why
calificadas
does
para
it
ser la
take more than
presidenta de
30
nuestro club?
years for one of
Entonces,
these women that
estos
was
son
already
los problemas
overqualified to become
estructurales
our
que
global
tenemos
president?
cuando pienso
And so
en lo que
those are
nos
the
está pasando a
structural
nivel
things
local
that
y
I
mundial.
think about
Pero ya con
when I
esto le
think
voy a
about my
ceder
organization
el
from a
micrófono
local as well as
a
global point
Todd
of
o
view.
Valerie
So
para
I'll
que
get
nos
off
digan lo
my
que piensan
soapbox and
sobre
turn
los
this over to
rotaractianos.
Todd
No,
or
yo
Valerie
creo
for your
que esta
viewpoints
conversación
on
ha
this,
sido
some Rotary
excelente.
actors.
Como ustedes ven, somos panelistas, pero
Yeah,
también
no, I think this
somos
has
como
just been an
ustedes. Estamos
excellent
aquí para
conversation. And as
conversar,
you all see,
para
yes, we are on the
seguir
panelists, but we're just like you. We are
aprendiendo,
all here
para
today to have a
poder
conversation
tener
and most importantly to
esperanza,
continue to
y
be the
espero
hope
que
and the
sigan esta
action
conversación con
individuals. And so
nosotros.
I would love for you to
Eso es
continue
lo
the
lindo de este
conversation. Join us
espacio
for
el
our
día de hoy,
next
que
webinar
las respuestas
because
están
we all
aquí
have
en
work to learn.
esta
And the
llamada. Aquí
answers,
estamos
this is what's beautiful
todos
about
en
this
este
space
grupo, los
today.
que estábamos
The
hablando,
answers
pero
are
los que están
on this call
escuchando también,
today.
haciendo
And we
preguntas.
need to
Aquí
share
en
with
el
each other. We
grupo
need to help
es que está
challenge
la
each other
solución,
and support each other.
para
And
que
so
eso
as
sea
we
una
move
prioridad
forward,
para
as
todos,
you
la
can see, I
diversidad, la
love
equidad
this
y la
statement.
inclusión.
Making diversity,
Yo me
equity, and
afilié
inclusion is a
a
party for
Rotary a los
everyone.
23
We
años y por
cannot
eso
do
yo
this
tengo
alone.
esperanza,
But I have
porque
hope. I
hay
joined Rotary
personas
at the
como
young age of
ustedes,
23. I became a
los que
Rotarian.
están en esta
I have
llamada aquí,
hope
y es
because
gracias
of
a ustedes
individuals
que
just
no,
like you on this call today who's been
es
the
por
change in
ustedes
our
que no,
community. We would not
que
have
tenemos
end polio if we didn't have you on
la
this call.
campaña de
And I
Polio
think we can
Plus. Es
end
por eso que estamos
racism, we can
erradicando la
end
polio.
sexism and all the
Entonces,
isms because
conéctese con
Rotary
nosotros,
exists.
continuamos esta
And so as we move
conversación.
forward,
Les
feel free to reach
agradecemos
out to
enormemente
us.
su tiempo
Feel
y su
free to
atención.
connect, and but most
Muchísimas
importantly,
gracias a
continue the
Beth y a Valerie
conversation.
por
And thank you all
compartir
so
sus
much for being here
conocimientos y
today.
experiencias.
And thank you
Y
so much
ahora
to our
cedo el
fellow
micrófono una
panelists,
vez
Beth
más para
and Valerie, for
despedirnos.
sharing your perspectives and your
Los quiero
insight.
mucho.
And
Que
now I'm going to
disfruten de
turn
su
it back over
convención.
for our closing.
Gracias.
And we love you all. Enjoy the rest of the virtual
Muchísimas
convention.
gracias
Thank
por
you for having
asistir a
us.
esta sesión. Pueden encontrar más contenido y grabaciones visitando a Rotary y la convención, el sitio web de la convención, para explorar más de la sesión, actividades y oportunidades de conexión durante la convención virtual, para seguir compartiendo con el mundo rotario. Que disfruten.
Enjoy the rest of the virtual convention.